أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This talk is a very important talk about the prohibition which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid down when it comes to marriage or nikah. A believing man or a woman cannot marry a mushrik or an adulterer or a fornicator. The most of the commandments which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given when it comes to marriage or nikah, they are addressed to believing men and they are applied reciprocably to the believing woman in a reasonable and logical manner. Like when Allah prohibits a believing man that he cannot marry his sister, the same applies to the believing sister that she cannot marry her brother. But in the case of mushrik or a fornicator, both believing men and women are mentioned when it comes to marriage or nikah. Let us see guidance from the verse number 221 of Surah Al Baqarah. Wala tankihul mushrikati hatta yu'min. And do not marry women who ascribe a share in his divinity unless they attain to faith. Here, the believing men, mu'mineen, have been addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you cannot marry a mushrika, the, the one or that female who ascribe a share in the divinity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The shirk can be in any form. It might be the shirk of invoking or supplicating anyone else or besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or it might be a shirk in the commandments of the hukam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or taking andad, meaning taking parables, comparables, or equals to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to one and only one God in any other form. The word used here is tankihu, which is a second person masculine plural imperfect verb in a jussive mood, meaning this is an ordinance which has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the believing men. Wala amatum mu'minatun khayrum min mushrika. And a Muslim slave girl is better than a mushrika, a woman who ascribes a share in the divinity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Walau a'jabatkum, even though they may attract you. These non believing women might look like to you rich, beautiful, or belonging to high stature in the society. Wala tunkihul mushrikina hatta yu'minu. And do not give your woman in marriage to a mushrik unless they have attained to faith. Here the word used is tunkihu, which is the second person masculine plural imperfect verb in a jussive mood, meaning an address has been made to the believing men who are in charge or who are the guardians of the believing women. This shows that the male believing guardians of the believing woman, they have the duty to make sure that their believing women are married to a believing man, and a decent manner should be adopted when it comes to marriage or nikah, and that manner should not disrupt the family ties. The believing male guardians of the believing woman and the believing woman should respect each other and behave in a manner which is mutually acceptable. The importance of taking the family consent when it comes to marriage or nikah has also been mentioned in the verse number 25 of Surah An-Nisa. Fankihuhunna bi izni ahlihinna. So marry them with the permission of their families. Here the procedure is described of marrying with believing slave women. Quran does not endorse nikah or marriage which is outside the familial consent. A mutually acceptable approach should be adopted rather than going for court marriages. Verse number 221 of the Surah Al Baqarah is further continued as Walau a'jabakum, and even though he may attract you, these non believing men, they might attract you in terms of their wealth, property, stature in the society, but make sure that you know ulaika yad'una ilan nar, they invite to the fire. They will destroy the peace of your this worldly life and will lead you towards the hellfire. Wallahu yad'u ilal jannati wal maghfirati. But Allah invites towards the paradise and forgiveness. Allah, your God, and the creator of the heavens and the universe, intends to bless you with the paradise, with the Jannah, and to protect you and to grant you maghfirah, protection at the day of judgment. Bi-iznihi, with his permission, with his izn. His izn is his permission will only be given to those who follow his ordinances, his commandments, his directions, instructions, and guidance, which is given in Quran Hakim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala izn or permission in case of nikah or marriage is that a believing man can only marry a believing woman or vice versa. وَيُبَيِّنُ آيَاتِهِ لِلنَّاسِ, and he makes clear his verses, that is his ordinances, to the mankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has informed us of the Sirat-e Mustaqim, the way which leads straight unto him in a distinct and clear manner without any crookedness. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ, so that you may remember. By adhering to the advisory of the Kitabullah, mankind can attain a state of honor and dignity in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us seek further guidance regarding today's topic from the verse number 3 of the Surah An-Nur. Az-zani la yankihu illa zaniyatan aw mushrika. An adulterer shall not marry save an adulteress or a mushrika. وَالزَّانِيَةُ لَا يَنْكِحُهَا إِلَّا زَانٍ أَوْ مُشْرِكٍ. And an adulteress shall not marry save an adulterer or a mushrik. وَحُرِّمَ ذَلِكَ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And all that is forbidden to the believers or a mu'mineen. A believer cannot marry a mushrik or a mushrika, someone who ascribes a share in the divinity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any form, and a believer cannot marry a fornicator or an adulterer or an adulteress. These have been prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the believing men and the women. Jazakumullah khair.